Hello and welcome to Algebra 1, Chapter 7.7, and today we are discussing special products. So before we get started, we're just going to look at the first one here. The quantity x plus 3 squared. And so what is that? What it is not x squared plus 9. It's not that. So you're not distributing your squared because this is a sum, and that only works for product. Okay, and so what is the meaning of a square? Well, it means to take something times itself. So really what we have is x plus 3 times x plus 3, and if we have a binomial times a binomial, then we are foiling. So there's first, outside, inside, and last, and then what we get is x squared plus 6x plus 9. And so it turns out that every time that you have something like that, that you have something times itself, it always falls into this same pattern. And so people over the years have recognized that pattern, and thus we get the sum of a square, because that's what we were just doing. So if you look at the symbol parts here, we have a sum that is being squared. And so yes, it means, in this case, a plus b times a plus b, and what you get out of it is a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So if we look at the example that we just did x plus 3 squared. This is a, this is b, and so if we follow this pattern, we get a squared, which would be x squared, plus, there's my plus sign, 2ab. So 2 times x times 3, well, that's 6x, plus b squared, b is 3, so b squared is 9. And so it's this pattern that if you realize this pattern, then that always will factor, or always will multiply into something like that. Okay? And so, yes, you can always just FOIL. If we need to recognize this is 7z plus 2 times 7z plus 2. And if you realize that, all you have to do is FOIL. But if you also realize that this is a plus b squared, this is a, this is b, and that's always going to give us a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Then what you get, a squared, so you're going to square this, which would be 49z squared. Then there's a plus sign. 2ab, so that is 2 times 7z, because that's your a, times b, which is 2. So that is going to be 28z, another plus sign, plus b squared, which is going to be 4. And there you go. So let's look at that one more time. Here's a, here's b, okay, and this is going, this a plus b squared is going to give us a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So a squared, this squared is going to be 64c squared plus 2 times a times b. So we have, let's see here, we get 48cd plus b squared, which is going to be 9d squared. Okay, so you can do these without realizing there's a pattern, but the pattern just might make it a little bit easier, faster. So those were all sums that we were looking at. So what if we look at a difference? Okay, and we're just again going to do the first one here. So yes, it means x minus 3 times x minus 3, and you would FOIL. So you would get first, outer, inner, last, in which case you would combine like terms. And if this started as a and this started as b, let's look and see what we have here. Is this a that's being squared? Is this b that's being squared? So just like before, but before, and that's a plus, before the middle was plus 2ab. So is this a plus 2ab? Okay, and it is 2ab though, because if you multiply these together, you get 3x, and if you times that by 2, you do get 6x. So the only difference here is that this is a minus sign and not a plus sign. So this is your difference of a square, or square of a difference. So if it's symbol parts again, this is my square of a difference. Yes, it means take it times itself, and it means the exact same thing as the other one, just that there's a minus sign instead of a plus sign. Now notice b squared is still positive because anytime you square a number, you're always going to get a positive. All right, so knowing this pattern, if you know this is, get my minus sign in there, a minus b squared, and that it produces a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. Here's your a, here's your b. Notice I did not circle that minus sign. The b is just the 4. So this is a squared, which is going to be 9c squared, minus, because I'm doing this minus sign right here, 2 times a times b. So what do we get? 24c plus b squared, which is 16. You are just putting these numbers into a pattern and simplifying. All right, so we got one more pattern to look at. And this is, what if I multiply a sum times a difference, and the only thing that's different is the sign. So notice they both have an x and the 3. So if we go back and we FOIL, here we got first, outer, inner, signs are really important, make sure you get them, last, what happens to those middle terms? They cancel, and you just get x squared minus 9. So let's look at this next one here. If we do first, outside, inside, last, what happens to those two middle terms? They cancel again. So if I have a sum times a difference, in which that's the only thing that's different about them is that sign in the middle, those two middle terms are going to cancel. That is called the product of a sum and a difference. And so again, our symbol part here is the most important part. If we have a plus b times a minus b, you're going to end up with just a squared minus b squared. And that's because those middle terms cancel every time. Notice it is minus b squared, and that's because you're taking the product of a sum and a difference. You're multiplying a positive times a negative. It will always be a minus in the middle. Okay, so if we FOIL these, here we go, and your backup plan is always just FOIL. So first gives us 81d squared. Okay, now without actually doing it, I need you to see that the outside would be a negative 36d, and inside would be a positive 36d, and those are going to cancel. So then we just end with the last, and it's minus 16, because you got a positive times a negative, and you're done. So one more to look at. So first of all, you do need to realize this is the product of a sum and a difference. The only thing that's different is those signs in the middle. Okay, so we're going to do first 9n squared, and then we're going to realize that negative 6n and positive 6n are going to cancel, and we're going to end then with a minus 4. All right, so you have 3 special products to know. Square of a sum, square of a difference, and the product of a sum and a difference. So let me know if you have any questions. Have a great day.